I'm Cynthia.
Standing here at my mother's birthday dinner, 1 year after the family intervention, I'm filled with a complex mix of emotions. My father, Victor, is present, and he's brought a simple bouquet of flowers for my mother, Lily. It's a small gesture, but it represents so much progress. During dessert, he discreetly shows me his 9-month sobriety chip, and I can't help but feel a glimmer of hope. However, this moment of cautious optimism is a far cry from where we were just a year ago. My childhood was spent in Boston, a city with a rich history and a cold winter that seemed to seep into every family corner. We lived in a small, 2-story house in the Beacon Hill neighborhood. The house was old, with creaky floors and drafty windows, but it was our home. My father, Victor, was a proud but somewhat hot-tempered man. He worked as an architect for a large firm. His hands were always stained with ink and charcoal, and his mind was constantly buzzing with new design ideas. My mother, Lily, was a gentle soul. She worked part-time at a local bookstore, spending her days surrounded by books and the smell of old paper. I was an ambitious child, always striving for the best. I aced my high school classes and managed to secure a scholarship to Harvard University. My father was over the moon with pride. He would tell anyone who would listen about his daughter, the future success in the making. This success propelled me into a career in finance. After graduation, I landed a job at a top-tier financial firm. I worked long hours, climbed the corporate ladder, and achieved financial stability that I never thought possible. But as I was thriving in my career, I started to notice subtle changes at home. Each time I visited, the house seemed a bit shabbier. The paint on the walls was peeling, and the furniture was looking more worn than before. When I asked about it, my parents would quickly brush it off, saying they were just letting things go a bit. I should have known better, but I wanted to believe them. I tried to help in small ways at first. I sent them gift baskets and paid for some of their utilities. My mother would accept these gifts with tearful gratitude, but my father would often be silent, his pride preventing him from showing much. Eventually, I set up automatic transfers to their account, a way to help without making it too obvious. My love life was also going well. I met Ethan, a software developer, and we fell in love. After 3 years together, he proposed during a weekend away in New York City. I was overjoyed and immediately called my parents to share the news. Their response was lukewarm at best, which I initially attributed to bad timing. 2 months later, at Thanksgiving, Ethan and I drove to Boston to announce our wedding plans. The house was in worse shape than I'd ever seen it. The front porch was sagging, and the kitchen had a strange smell. During dinner, when we mentioned our plans for a June wedding at a beautiful garden in Cambridge, my father sneered and said it was a waste of money. An argument ensued, and I finally learned the truth. My father had lost his job 6 months ago due to a company restructuring. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage, and my mother was suffering from a chronic illness that had racked up huge medical bills. I was devastated but determined to help. I paid off the overdue mortgage and took on the responsibility of their medical bills. Nearly 30% of my income went towards supporting them. We had to scale back our wedding plans and postpone some home improvements we had planned. Despite my efforts, my father's attitude didn't seem to improve. He continued to make ungrateful and passive-aggressive comments. One weekend visit, I discovered a receipt for an expensive painting he had bought, even though they were struggling to pay for basic necessities. When I gently suggested that they needed to cut back on expenses, he lashed out at me, saying that he had worked hard all his life and deserved some small pleasures. Our relationship deteriorated further as the wedding planning progressed. My parents showed little interest in the wedding, and they even missed our engagement party. Instead, they were at a friend's party, and I found out through social media. I was heartbroken. Then, 3 months before the wedding, my father called me with an investment opportunity. A former colleague had presented him with a deal to invest in renovating some old buildings for resale. The buy-in was a staggering $100,000, and he wanted me to contribute. I had my doubts immediately. I asked for business plans and financial documents, but my father dismissed my concerns. He guilt-tripped me, reminding me of all the sacrifices he had made for my education. After researching the colleague, I found a history of failed business ventures and legal issues. I proposed a compromise, a formal loan agreement with an interest rate and a structured repayment plan. My father was furious. He couldn't believe I was asking him to sign a contract with his own daughter. In the end, he reluctantly agreed, but his resentment was palpable. The wedding day was a disaster. My father didn't show up. He called me, saying there was an emergency with the investment project. A plumbing issue in one of the buildings needed $20,000 to fix immediately, or they would lose everything. I was in shock. I told him that I couldn't deal with it on my wedding day, that I needed him to be my father and come to my wedding. He then gave me an ultimatum: either wire the money within the hour or never come back to his house. I refused, and he didn't come to the wedding. My mother walked me down the aisle, her eyes filled with sadness. The wedding went on, but it was marred by the absence of my father and the knowledge that our relationship was on the verge of breaking. During our honeymoon in Hawaii, I received an email from a cousin. It was a link to a news article about a real estate fraud scheme. The article detailed the same project my father had invested in. It turned out that the whole thing was a scam, and the $100,000 I had given him was probably gone. When we returned from our honeymoon, my mother showed up at our apartment, looking haggard and defeated. She revealed that my father had a gambling problem that had been going on for years. He had lost his job because he had embezzled money from a client to pay off his gambling debts. The medical bills included treatments for his stress-related health issues. The family home was in foreclosure again, and he was in denial about his addiction. I was filled with a mix of anger, betrayal, and sadness. But I knew I had to act. I took emergency leave from work and assembled a team of professionals: a financial counselor, an addiction specialist, a family therapist, and a lawyer. We confronted my father at his house. The intervention was the most difficult thing I've ever done. He denied everything at first, then became angry and defensive. He lashed out at me, saying that I was trying to control him. But in the end, we presented him with a set of conditions for my continued financial support. He needed to enter a gambling addiction treatment program, participate in financial counseling, and make our accounts transparent. My father was furious. He said I was blackmailing him and stormed out of the house. It was a painful moment, but I knew it was necessary. In the months that followed, there was little communication from my father. My mother moved in with my aunt, and I focused on my work and dealing with the family crisis. Then, in December, I received a call from a counselor at a recovery center. My father had entered residential treatment on his own and wanted to have a supervised family session. The session was awkward at first, but my father admitted that he had been unfair to me. He took responsibility for the investment scheme and apologized for trying to manipulate me. It was a small step, but it gave me hope. Over the next few months, things slowly started to change. My mother found part-time work at a local library, and my father completed his residential treatment and got a job at a small architectural firm. The family home couldn't be saved, but we managed to handle the foreclosure with dignity. My professional career also continued to thrive. I was promoted to a senior position at my firm, and Ethan's software engineering career advanced as well. And to our surprise, I found out I was pregnant. As I look around the dinner table tonight, I realize that the past year has been a journey of pain, healing, and growth. I've learned that love sometimes means making the hard choices, setting boundaries, and facing the truth even when it's difficult. I'm hopeful that our family can continue to heal and build a stronger, more honest relationship.